Okay, folks, happy belated Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving yesterday, American Thanksgiving. Canada, for some unknown reason, elbows upping, I guess, wanted to have ours back in October. And it's been that way. But we got Indians, we got pilgrims, we got all that stuff. We don't have the Mayflower. But I never got that. I never understood. I mean, we celebrate Christmas same time, Easter the same time, summer holidays the same time. School's out for summer. Okay, good. We're good. There's a lot of overlap and symbiosis, if you will.
Maybe they get better weather than we do at that time of the year.
A lot of stories we're following. The biggest story breaking right now is the corruption in the Ukraine. Big developments there. This is huge because right now the president is close to securing a peace deal. And now their head negotiator in the Ukraine has stepped down. So we're going to talk about that. The number two man in Ukraine under heavy corruption. How much of our money has gone? We'll talk about that in a little bit later. So that's the story. We got the National Guardsman being shot. I know the one young lady was murdered, killed outright. She'd passed away in hospital. The young woman, it was like her first day on the job or some godforsaken thing. And so this animal took her out, and he is now being charged with first-degree murder. They're going to seek the death penalty on this guy, as they should. This is sending shockwaves through the administration. We'll talk about the president's response to this. It's pretty significant. And how you doing? It's good to see our friend Salt Scene in the house. Holy smokes. Anyway, it's good to have you on board here watching Blake and myself as we knock some of these stories out of the park today. So the thumbnail, did you see the thumbnail on today's show?
I didn't see the thumbnail, but I saw the title.
Okay, yeah. Well, the thumbnail is I put Zelensky's head on a turkey's body, or roast turkey. It's been served up for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Did it have a little sprinkling of white around his face?
Oh, my God. Did you see that one, too, where he's talking and a little cocaine ball comes flying out of his nostril? And everybody goes, is this fake or real? What the hell is this? Who the hell knows? No one knows. Okay.
Booger nuggets.
Yeah, Boogergate. Okay. And the other thing is really kind of raising eyebrows, but it's been broiling, it's been fermenting for a while. This is the, quote, woke right versus kind of MAGA, America first. Tucker Carlson is coming in for some real scrutiny. Now, you saw the entire interview he did with Piers Morgan. This is where kind of ground zero for this thing. People that are more sympathetic to Israel are openly criticizing Tucker. No one more than Tommy Robinson, who kind of gets thrown under the bus by Tucker. Now, you feel you have a different theory on that as to what goes on. So let's see how much of this I can actually procure for us, and then we'll see what we can do. I got a couple from Tommy here. Okay, boom, boom, boom. I got a lot of these clips. I got to get the right one. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, let's see how we do. Ezra Levant also weighing in on this. Of course, Ezra, very pro-Israel. He's a Jewish guy. Full disclosure, he's a Jewish guy.
And Tommy was his guy too.
And Tommy says, boy.
Yeah.
So let's see we'll start with Ezra, and we'll run the show. We'll see how we do today. As always, I like to see how big it is for you kids. Pretty good size. I think you can see what's going on there. Fox's Tucker actually interviewed Tommy Robinson and lavished praise on him. But Qatar's Tucker, and this is what they're labeling him now as Qatar's Tucker, pretends he doesn't know who Tommy is. Which one was the real Tucker? Does Tucker himself even know? And here's a clip, 7 minutes long, about 8 minutes, talking about the first round where Tommy got released and Tucker defending him. Then this is a clip we can play because it's only 34 seconds. Tucker Carlson continues to go down in the British people's estimations with a stunning OF of Tommy Robinson News there arrogantly pretending he doesn't know who he is. than saying he's a fraud, while Piers Morgan continues his defamation. So here's the clip. Let's play it. And again, to Blake's credit, he said we should hear the whole thing. Obviously, we can't do that within the time limits constraints we have, but at least we'll play the soundbite. Here we go.
And it's cool because you have soccer games with foreigners at them and good burrata. Yeah. And I'm just saying maybe something about the heroic British spirit has been diminished with time. That's all I'm saying.
But there is a very lovely, quaint notion being built up in the United States, driven by people like Tommy Robinson here.
Who's Tommy Robinson?
You know Tommy Robinson.
He seems like a fraud to me.
Well, he's not even Tommy Robinson. His name's Stephen Yaxley. It's not even his real name. He's also convicted of multiple crimes, thuggery, fraud.
I don't even know anything about him, but he doesn't seem like he's that into Britain.
We would call him a little shit stirrer, right? However,
but the real people here, the actual Britons.
But this idea that he's driven, that we're on the verge of some sort of civil war here. Do you feel that when you walk around?
No, because that's my point. You're so passive.
We're not passive.
They take your human rights away, and you're like, oh, defending. And it's cool because you have soccer games with foreign.
Okay. So they're doing the thing where it's, it's kind of a romanticized vision of England. And then, and I'll just read some of let me do this for you too, Blake. Let's bring it back up. And I think I can do that. Okay. I think I can produce it. It should be backstage. There it is. Let's bring it up live again. So I just played that clip. Let's go big on this. Okay, so now let me go to the clip. Got a lot of windows open. He'll claim he doesn't know who you are next. How sad to watch this man turn himself into a complete laughingstock. Billboard Chris, Blake, you know him. He's the guy that has the anti-trans agenda. He goes out there with a little billboard challenging people on that.
Well, actually, I would actually say he's not. Yeah, I don't think he's anti-trans. I think he's anti-children being.
Sure, fair enough. I don't care. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I know, right? Think he simply forgot this was Sharia law. I don't see how, but what do I know? Hundreds of thousands of girls in America at risk of female genital mutilation. Open your borders to Hindus or Sikhs, Tommy Robinson going. So it kind of falls apart here. Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson. Qatar Tucker doesn't like pro-Israel Tommy. Tucker is down to one litmus test, and it starts with the letter J-E-W, right? So you're getting the anti-Semitic brigade in.
Yeah.
They think Tates are fine, but Tommy Robinson is a troublemaker because he had a crisis over a decade ago. Tucker doesn't remember him. What the fuck is wrong with these guys? And on and on and on it goes. So we have this division, this cancel that. MAGA division, Blake, America First, Nick Fuentes, obviously he's trouble. There's troubled people. 4D, who's in Manchester, England, writes, shit stir, anyone rocking the boat of the bent establishment is going to be labeled. And we've seen this kind of pejorative labeling and this dismissal. Like Piers Morgan just slanders the guy. I mean, it's true what he's saying, but it's a smear job. And Tucker, rather than challenging it, just shoulders in with Piers Morgan. Again, I don't know who the fucker is. He's nothing to me. He seems kind of fake and phony, which opened it up for Piers to go, that's not even his name. I'm full disclosure. I'm not Rachel's ghost. I'm Rachel Williams legally. I have my name changed legally.
Yeah.
So to my way of thinking, I don't think Tucker's being sarcastic. I think somebody's got to do due diligence and ask the hard questions. And I'll ask it if you're a Tucker guy. I get that feeling you are. You can correct me. He may have been allegedly, possibly received financing, made a little trip to Qatar. Is it possible? Is it feasible? The Qatar said, hey, yo, Tucker, we like your work. We admire what you're up to, but please, could you kind of just cool down a little bit of the anti-Islam rhetoric? Could you just kind of put a little ixnay on that? Well, we'll make it worth your while. So these are the kind of allegations. That's why The guy came along, Qatar. They're calling him Qatar Tucker. Blake, take it away. What are your thoughts on this? I didn't see it. Full disclosure, I didn't see it. You saw the whole thing, so I'm going to defer to you in terms of, because you saw the whole presentation.
No, if you watch the whole interview, I mean, it is a head scratcher about the Tommy Robinson, because he has spoken in support of Tommy Robinson in the past, which is I don't know why he would say that during that interview, because if you watch the entire interview, Tucker is basically carving apart Piers Morgan's arguments. And essentially, he's saying that England and his policies right now, Britain overall, is basically in a state of self-destruction because of the mass immigration, the Islamification. He's talking all the same talking points, rape gangs. He mentioned everything that Tommy has been fighting all along. Sometimes I think you could look at it two sides of the fence on this one. There is some hyper sensitive feelings about Israel, and Israel is losing its position in the world. And I've been watching some interesting conversations about that there's actually an internal battle going on in Israel right now between two different factions. And Netanyahu is one of the guys that doesn't play ball with the establishment Israeli order, right? So he's kind of a Trump-esque, even though he did some stuff Trump would never do, but he's kind of an outlier, kind of does his own thing. He doesn't align with the establishment and does his own thing against, and let's just say the very powerful influences that the Israeli diplomats, or what you would call it, or the organizations that support Israel, right? That kind of put pressure on politicians in their policies to make sure that Israel stays at the forefront and maintains that position of influence within foreign nations to give them support, which any nation has the right to do, in my opinion. I mean, I don't care if you meet with people and you support their position. That's what you have a right to do that. But the America First is actually the real battle. Is not woke right versus. There's no woke right. There's a battle that's between, does Israel have a right to dictate foreign policy in the United States, or should they line up and be behind everybody else and just be like every other nation and be on their own? And that's kind of where the argument is, where it's being drawn. So some people are going to say the other side, that Tommy Robinson's maybe taking money to provide that influence to support his campaign to get what he's want from Israeli interests. So, so I'm just saying, for both sides of the argument, it could go both ways. I don't know why Tucker would have said that. It seems kind of an odd comment when he has spoken about him not once, but multiple times in support of Tommy. And I don't understand why this was brought up with specifically Piers, but I'd recommend everybody go watch it, because literally the entire interview is Piers Morgan trying to defend Britain, and basically Tucker's carving it up, saying whatever happened to the Great Britain, and they talked about from World War I, World War II. They're actually questioning, the actions that England has done to self-destruct as the world leader.
Yeah.
And what he described as, it's the values of, polite society, neat and tidy cities and communities and all that.
Western values, our culture.
Yeah, exactly. And that essentially he had Piers on the ropes trying to defend this. Piers couldn't, in the end, really defend that argument.
No, it's indefensible.
Because he's like, look at the outside, like they're right in downtown London. He's interviewing Piers, and he goes, just look outside. And he goes, what? I see a beautiful city. And Tucker's like, have you walked the streets? Like, go look. He goes, in London, I think he said native Londoners are, and we're talking indigenous Londoners, are in a major minority. I think they said it's like 3 in 7 people are native to England that live in London. So they are a minority in their own land. Very similar to indigenous people here that what's happened in North America. So, but in the difference is, indigenous people weren't purposely trying to annihilate their own culture. This is being done at an industrial level, like across Europe in a desperate plea. So I think this is where the argument goes, is that I think the problem that you're having is this issue that there is forces inside MAGA that are trying to divide it because they want to ensure that the power stays where it was historically. And again, establishment people trying to stir the pot between the talking heads that have influenced the whole MAGA movement. And there is people, I agree that there's people in there like Nick Fuentes who are dangerous. I don't think anybody needs to come out and be anti-Israel, but I think if you're going to lay out your arguments, there's a difference between anti-Semitism and anti-policy. There may be Israeli policies we do not like and we don't agree with. I don't agree that Israel forced all their people, much like we did in Canada, to go take a jab. That would be a policy I'd be like abhorrent to. So, but I think there's a bigger battle brewing underneath that has really, I don't think the Qatar story, I think that's a spin. I think that essentially is trying to demonize, because Tucker has become very pro-America on the side that's saying, Israel, you need to line up like everybody else. You need to stop influencing politicians. AIPAC has come under a lot of fire. And I think that's where this is all coming from, because there is they spend a hell of a lot of money promoting their values through talking heads to promote what their beliefs are, what they're trying to establish within the policy of America. And because America is Rome, let's call it for there, the biggest nation, most powerful nation on earth. And you want Rome in your back corner to help protect your country if you're under attack. Which is a logical thing to say, just like Zelenskyy. We're going to be talking about him, but I think he was a plant. He was definitely, I think there's a whole different story with Zelenskyy, which we can cover here.
We'll cover that. We'll get into that. Just one last note on this, and I'll let you address this. Laura Loomer is obviously she gets accused and I'm not the biggest Laura Loomer fan, but she gets accused as being Israel first, and so she takes a lot of hits this way. But from her position comes a big fan of Laura Loomer, Roger Stone Info, where Tucker and Hannity love Trump, favorite, blah, blah, blah. Not only has Tucker Carlson recently defended Sharia law, but here he is during his recent interview with Morgan claiming people who are critical of Islam are engaged in an operation, an op, as he calls it. He also said he likes Pakistani cab drivers more than white liberals. Tucker doesn't think we have an Islam problem. Tell that to the family members of the two National Guardsmen who were just shot. Tucker behaves like an agent of Islam. Well, it could be argued she behaves like an agent of Israel. How much money do you think the Arabs would need to pay someone as high profile as Tucker to do a 180 on his views regarding Islamic immigration? Next week, the CEO of TC Network will be speaking at the Doha Forum in Qatar. So I guess he's going to be heading to Qatar, Doha, next week, apparently. Now that Mandami has been elected, the influencer budget has been deployed to convince people online that Sharia law is actually a good thing. You'll be seeing a lot more posts on X about how, Sharia ain't that bad a deal. And she's actually got a clip of him going, hey, I don't have a beef with Sharia law, presumably. I'm not going to play the clip. Blake, again, a final word on this to you.
Again, Tucker's position would be on religious freedom. And that's where he speaks on that side. So if they want to conduct Sharia law on themselves, so be it. Like, it's like any church that has a right to control its own members' conduct within the confines of their membership. And if they don't want to play ball, well, they're not. The only thing is the American Constitution will protect them for not being forced into doing it. So that compulsion is where Sharia, if it goes beyond the borders of managing their own church conduct versus the conduct of others who are non-believers, that's where Sharia, the difference would be between the two. And that's Tucker's argument, is like, if it maintains within the confines of your belief system, with inside your own membership, your own club rules, then that's where it can stay. Is people are voluntarily signing off on it.
Yeah.
But the point is, Sharia law goes beyond that. They tried to take over entire neighborhoods. They're saying in England right now, they've got, where you see it more common, that they're literally telling people who are non-Islamic people in their own town on how to present themselves in public, like getting after a woman without a hijab or any kind of face covering or whatever.
It's such an aggressive position. Some people said it's not even a religion; it's a political force, a political.
Well, it's a jihad. Force. It's a jihad. The whole basis of Islam is based on jihad.
So the counter argument to Tucker's position, and one I would posit, is that because of the very nature of the proselytizing and the evangelical fervor of Islam, not to tolerate anything, that it can't actually be contained, and that it is in fact de facto incompatible with the West, and that unfortunately it just cannot be allowed to operate within the West.
Which is so bizarre that you have this far left kind of progressive purple-haired nutcases that are, like queers for Palestine kind of people. Like,
okay, but isn't that a case of not understanding that you're playing with the lion? Maybe there's the lion's paw idea. It's okay to remove the thorn from the lion's paw, but not every lion is going to go, gee, I'm so grateful to you, little mouse, for helping me out. Some will just go, while the thing's in range, just take it out. Why? What's the thing? It's like the crocodile that promises to carry the little pig or whatever the hell it is across the water, and then it says, well, you won't bite me, will you? No, I'm just going to safely escort you. And then it gets halfway across the water, and then the alligator starts, why did you do that? Why are you biting me? You're trying to kill me. He goes, well, I'm an alligator.
Yeah.
It's the nature of it, right? It's the old parable.
All right, I was just hungry. Well, the good news is overall, it doesn't matter. Trump's pro-Israel. He'll protect Israel. He won't leave them lie. And that's where it all falls.
That's a natural progression. So we're going to go here next. Okay, so here we go. This is problematic, but it ties into the murder of this National Guardsman. Here she is down here. And this gentleman here is in critical condition, to the best of my knowledge, or is he passed to, Blake? I don't know about his latest.
I'm not sure.
All right. Well, we pray for their families and obviously for that young man's recovery, and bless the young lady. Here we go, James Wood. Here we go. DC National Guard terrorist suspect suffered mental problems from fighting for CIA-backed Zero unit. So, we can't do anything. He's just mentally not well because he's a hero fighting on our behalf, and so he's a good guy. He just went a little wacky because it's not his fault.
Somehow connected to the CIA.
Isn't that interesting? And of course, we just had the seditious six call out, telling the military to disobey, quote, illegal laws or illegal orders, none of which have been ushered. Everything's above board. Everything's legal. But it obviously is meant to sow dissent, doubt into the equation.
Yeah.
Talking about Islam, this is part of the horrendous airlift from this is the White House. Airlift from Afghanistan. Hundreds of thousands of people poured into our country, totally unvetted, unchecked. We'll fix it, but we'll never forget what crooked Joe Biden and his thugs did to our country, President Donald John Trump. And there's a picture of all these people unvetted coming in. Of course, there's film footage at a press conference of Jen Psaki saying, oh, no, there's no unvetted people in. Well, this character that just went out and created this act of horrendous terror, who's now up on murder one charges, clearly this guy wasn't vetted. And then we got this. Usual suspects seem to be involved with this guy. This is another story. This is Ukraine. This is a Ukraine story. What's crazy about this is there's Mark Kelly Now let's see. Are you watching that one? Let me share this one instead. I'm sorry. I want to share this instead. So here you have a picture of Mark Kelly. He's one of the seditious six that was saying disobey the orders, the illegal orders, which are non-existent. And here he is with Alex Soros. So the other picture showed Soros with Zelensky's number 2, the guy up on corruption. The same corruption that is working to undermine the United States military and sow division within the nation. And that's with Democrat, Republican alike, just general disavowing of the administration. Is Soros's fingerprint is on that. And then remarkably, or to no one's surprise, here he is with this cat as well. Same, there's Alex Soros. Oh, aren't we, pal? There's dear old dad. Ukraine flag, that's Zelensky's number 2. As always, it's a case of, the usual suspects, as it were.
Yeah.
So Trump's position, let me do this one as well.
See his Thanksgiving comments? Holy smokes.
I think I've got that one here. Okay, here we go, Blake. So we're talking about Islam in America, this sort of thing. President Trump, the White House, I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the United States to fully recover. Terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions. Remove anyone who is not a net asset to the U.S. or is incapable of loving our country. I just freaking love that comment. Yeah. I fully support this. What's your take on the shootings, the CIA's possible involvement, the couple in Washington that harbored the guy, and now the U.S. Policy on administration?
Well, from everything I have listened to or read so far that's been happening for quite some time, and especially now that Trump is president, the internal civil war is actually happening within the intelligence agencies. So what has been described as hold back cells dating back from the Obama years are well established and anchored within these departments, these intelligence areas, and they are conducting operations on behalf of that interest. And this is why you're always seeing, it seems, a connection to the CIA. And we've talked about before, like there seems to be a divide between the CIA and the NSA and competing interests there, but they've been infected with outside influence. The CIA for years has been able to operate, multiple corporations. We don't even know how many. So they're behind so many veils.
Correct.
Argued that they were behind the, going back to Reagan years, remember Oliver North and, I cannot tell a lie, basically kind of speech. When guns were being moved, for the rebels in, I believe it was in Honduras, or no, was it Honduras or El Salvador? Anyways, and it was this connection with moving guns and money to help fund the
Sandinistas, all that
fighting the Sandinistas. Yeah, but they were using money. They're funneling it through Iran to come through that way, and it was like the I can't remember the crisis they called it. It was some kind of game.
They always have a code word, yeah.
But regardless, there's this, and then of course Obama got caught with the guns to the narcos scandal, which basically, again, the media said, we got this thing, and then they just dropped the story, right? It just disappeared. Again, these massive entities, intelligence entities operating around the world have been accused, have also been involved with drug running, working with the narcos out of, Colombia, Venezuela, and because of course they know where all the drug running boats are, because they're the ones that in a lot of cases know all the guys because they were part of it. And a lot of the drug running was used to create wealth offshore to use for operations so the money never touches U.S. shores, so that they can run illegally if it was in the U.S., but if it's outside of the U.S., it's no longer illegal, which you get into this gray area. Well, if you're a government operation, you're told to do these kinds of things, then technically it is illegal because you're operating and you're being paid by the U.S. Government to do this kind of work. But of course, there's been countless movies made about this. It goes so deep, and I think that's the problem. They have a lot of assets that are run amok, and I think that's part of it. Is my audio not going well?
It sounds good to me. Your mic's pop, you have those dampers on a microphone. Your P's are popping a bit, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, he's making my audio break up. But this is something that intelligence networks around the world have been operating for a long time. It's been well established. They've done bizarre drug tests on their own citizens. This is where it comes into who are these shooters? Why are their backgrounds all so murky? Why do there seem to be connections between the doctors that were helping them with their medications are tied to CIA operations or have CIA connections? And people keep pulling all this information out, and it just disappears into the ether and drops off. Nobody wants to investigate any further. So is there a civil war? And I think that's the question. Like Trump does have a lot of people that support him within the intelligence networks. They believe or love their country. They saw their countries going to hell in a handbasket. They saw this corrupt class of kleptocrats were taking it over and running it for their own financial gain and power machine. And I think that's where the white hat, black hat we get into those conversations. And I think that's what we're seeing here is an ongoing effort within these hold-back cells that are on that side that are going to continue to create havoc. And I think the Soros and all that is part of that, because Soros was involved with Ukraine. He was involved in the 2014 orange color revolution, which is interesting because our political party, the NDP, I'm pointing right here, this is their colors and everything. You notice they try and paint everything orange, including all lives matter and, or all children's lives matter was all painted in the orange colors. There's this left-wing cabal globally that they're using leftist politics as a way to convert and change into this crony state where these people continue to operate and enrich themselves by creating self deals. They don't have to compete with anybody. And I think Soros is one of those specter characters that is working within that group. I don't think he's the leader. I think people keep pointing him as a leader. No, he's just another CIA like
bag man.
He's a funding guy. He's the guy that they go for money, and he runs the machines financially, but he's not the guy that's calling all the shots. And I think that's the thing, is as we cut off the heads of snakes through this process, and I say we, those in the world that hate what we see, and we're seeing Trump as hopefully that person is going to topple their power system.
He's sure hurting it.
He's hurting it for sure. And I think we're seeing the pushback, and we've heard about the Podesta plan. That's all part of the same thing. They're doing what the Podesta plan is almost the same thing they did in Ukraine. And they're trying to create a civil war like action, where at least starting with massive unrest, where all they need to get is a Kent State type scenario where U.S. troops fire on college students, they'll call them, or mostly peaceful protesters, as they like to call them in 2020. So, the spin, we are in it. We're in it. And this is all of these moving parts are happening all at once. What's happening in Venezuela, what's happening in Venezuela is really interesting because there's a direct connection between Venezuela and Dominion voting machines. So that's interesting as well, that we had all this playing out, information about elections in 2020 and other elections prior to that, with lots of questions. But it's big. It's big. But I agree with Trump's position. It's time to shore up the country. And that was actually Tucker's point to England when he was talking to Piers. Like, you need to start loving your country for what its culture, what it was. and keep it and fight to retain it. And I think they are. I think England will see a revolution. I think it will be a revolution. America's already in the MAGA revolution. Canada is always behind the U.S. I think once it's exposed about the voter election fraud that's happened in the U.S., that is going to cross the border here as well. I think the Western world will have a reckoning, and then a wake-up call, and then a fight back to get it back. And it's going to be a fight. These cells are all behind. They're there to cause conflict.
All right, let's springboard from that right into, we're talking CIA, we're talking influence peddling. One of the biggest black holes on the planet right now is the Ukraine. And now that festering sore is coming to, they can't contain anymore. One of the best analyses I saw out there today was Jim Ferguson. And he took a look at it. And I'm going to read his comment for you all here. I thought this was very perceptive and told him so myself. Let's make this real big. Breaking, you can see this, right, Blake?
Yep, clear as a bell.
Breaking, Zelenskyy is running out of road and the globalists know it. That's the good news. The globalists know he's running out of road. Something seismic is happening in Kyiv. I still like saying Kiev. Kyiv is part of the PSYOP, repronounce it. So Kiev for me, and the Western establishment is pretending not to notice. Anti-corruption investigators, how they even got a chance to get out the door. Anti-corruption investigators, what? We'll talk about that, Blake. Have now raided Zelensky's own offices. His chief of staff is under scrutiny and has stepped down, by the way. His closest allies are fleeing the country. The scandal is now sitting inside the presidency itself. For 2 years, Zelenskyy was untouchable. The West poster child, the face of the good war. The man Brussels and Washington propped up at any cost. But the tide has turned. Funding is collapsing. Support is evaporating. Corruption is no longer containable. And Brussels has already begun quietly discussing, quote, post-Zelenskyy Ukraine. The truth is brutal. Zelenskyy served his purpose. The same globalist class that inflated him into a hero is now backing away as the scandal reaches critical mass. When leaders stop being useful, they stop being protected. When the narrative cracks, the machine moves on. When corruption hits the inner circle, the system looks for a new figurehead. Zelenskyy knows this. Kiev knows this, and the West knows this. The only question now is how the global establishment will manage the fallout. And what story will they tell the world when the walls finally close in? Because one thing is certain, the era of Zelenskyy is ending. And the people who built him up are already preparing to replace him. Ukraine is entering its most dangerous phase yet, and the consequences will shake Europe. Will Zelenskyy try to run? Where will he run to? And why? And will they try to silence him? He knows too much before he escapes. Zelenskyy finished. Globalists are cutting him loose. The moment everyone expected has finally arrived. And here's the news.
A line of breaking news to bring you, coming to us from out of Ukraine. Now, you will know that there has been a corruption scandal engulfing that man's administration, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. In the last few minutes, officials have reported that the anti-corruption authorities, that is NABU, have carried out searches of President Zelensky's offices. That's according to officials there.
Well, yes, and as we're saying, Ukraine has been caught up in this damaging corruption scandal. Anti-corruption agencies have been talking about how they believe that some of President Zelensky's close associates could be involved in some kind of plot. The thought is that perhaps money has been skimmed off Ukraine's energy sector. And this scandal erupting, of course, while Ukrainians are suffering blackouts caused by Russian bombing. So that investigation is underway. So this latest development is that officials are now saying that those anti-corruption authorities are conducting searches of President Zelensky's chief of staff.
Yeah.
All right, and then a couple more stories, and then I'll unleash you on this story. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is the last refuge. If we're trying to figure out what's going on here, hey, notice how quiet the U.S. Senate has been about this new development in the Ukraine corruption scandal. I wonder why. Because the U.S. Senate are recipients from the money laundering.
Yep.
So there's kickbacks going to the U.S. Senate. All these people voted, hey, yeah, let's keep the money flowing into the Ukraine. So line them up and, and interview them all you want. And there's, of course, the Jim Ferguson break-in Zelenskyy finish. But last refuge weighing in. Very interesting indeed. And, of course, we were talking about the corruption. We showed the picture of Alex Soros with Zelensky's number 2 man. I think I have the number 2 man stepping down. If I don't, no big deal. It just basically is one of the further developments and things that they actually raided his office and he stepped down. The number 2 man, currently the head guy negotiating. So we got kickbacks in the Senate. Canada's Chrystia Freeland just left Canada apparently to operate as one of the think tank people, money handlers for Ukraine. How dirty is she? How dirty is she?
She was she was on the board of the WEF.
Yeah.
With Mr. Carney too.
So a lot of corruption there. Here's the other thing. Remember Joe Biden? Well, damn it. They had the prosecutor. I said, you better drop these charges against Burisma or you're not going to get your $1 billion from the United States of America. Well, wouldn't you know it? The son of a bitch got fired. And that's influencing, peddling.
Which his son was on that board.
Exactly. So Biden thought it was, this was a big win. He was pulling a win here with his tough talk. And wouldn't you know it, the son of a bitch got fired. Well, it turns out Burisma, all that's going to come out. That ain't going away. And now it's going to get, the fires are being stoked with this corruption because what role did Burisma play in the ongoing corruption in the Ukraine? I would bargain, I would be willing to bet that Burisma's fingerprints are on this too. And once you get Burisma, then you've got Hunter Biden again and dear old dad Smoking Joe. So the corruption charges that the Dems face keep going, keep going. Here's my question to you, Blake. NABU, the National Association for Bureaucratic Malfeasance, or whatever the hell they are, in the Ukraine. How the hell did this thing even get enough fire under its feet to actually have the balls to go out and raid the president of the Ukraine's office? I mean, isn't this guy another Iron Man that's got control over the Ukraine and his top dog, the number 2 man, being forced to resign? What kind of powers are operating behind the scenes that would give these guys the protection needed in order to go tear apart the regime? I swear to God, Blake, in Canada, we don't have an apparatus like that could tear down the Canadian corruption of Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau. The RCMP is compromised. CSIS is compromised. The judiciary is compromised. This whole system's corrupt. Just as bad as the Ukraine, but their system, for whatever reason, it's fallen apart. Why did it fall apart? What empowered? Who empowered the that intel group to go in there and take them down? Very interesting developments. But I agree, Zelenskyy finished. So a few questions for you. Number one, how did that anti-corruption agency get any grease in its wheels to even do this? And number two, is Zelenskyy done?
Well, the fact that you bring up Canada, this is a theory I'm going to have, that Zelenskyy, when he runs and he has to take safe haven into a country I'm going to project that Canada is where he comes to. Because look at the connection, as you said, with Chrystia Freeland. She's highly connected with the WF and the powers that be that installed him. And that's the thing. This global what do you call them? They're kind of like they're a global power that operates without a nation. They just float. The WF is their public side of what their influence is, but their actual apparatus is in the fingers of, or in the powers and the halls of every country in the world. Canada's fully captured. So when you say why Canada could never happen, well, it's because the same power that can go into Zelensky's office is the power that controls Canada. It's the same power that controls the UK, the same power that controls the EU. It's the same people, the same cartel, I would call them, of people that control the financial levers of the world and do not want to lose control of that. They're always desperate to hold on to that. And they need to break parts of the world in an attempt to control more power, more land, more influence. So Ukraine.
Yeah,
so
hold on.
Yeah.
Now you're bringing. I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an important point. This is a critical linchpin point. So you're telling me that it's not white hats taking Zelensky out; it's black hats.
It's their own guy. He was one of them. It's their own guy. That's the thing. That's the thing is they put in their own despots.
Why are they taking him out? What's the problem here? What's the problem?
They've lost. They've lost. They've lost the war. They thought they could win, but Trump got elected. That's what happened. They lost the influence and control of the strongest nation on earth, which would continually fund their endless war over there to try to break Russia. They want to break Russia into bringing it under their control. They have not been able to do that. Nobody from Europe has been able to historically break Russia. Napoleon couldn't do it. Hitler couldn't do it. The only way you could break Russia was from within, and that was the communists, right? They basically broke their own country. They destroyed the monarchy there. And I think there's a connection to that. There's this, I would say that cartel that I'm talking about is highly connected to the ancient histories of nobles and kings.
Oh my God, are you the Rothschilds, the Gettys, and the Colonel? He put something that makes me crave it fortnightly.
Well, I don't know if it's the Rothschilds, but the monarchy, let's just say, the monarchies that used to control Europe are still highly powerful in behind, that still have their people highly invested, and they're connected into European power. Europe does not like being, because they were the ancient seat of power in the world, Rome, and I believe there's this, through their elites, they do believe that they have this God-given right to rule the world. And I think that's the difference. America was built to break away from that. America gave them the middle finger in 1776 and says, screw you, we're going to be our own nation. Yeah. And that spirit of independence was infecting this globalist viewpoint from the Europeans that no, it's ruled by us. You know, our oligarchy, let's just say oligarchy of our massive bureaucracies that are owned by his or her majesties and nobles and kings. Yeah. And this is where it comes down to. This is why this whole you own nothing, be happy crap comes from, because it just falls within the old order where you will live under as a serf on somebody's land and they will protect you. And in this case, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy because you'll be under their protection, just be one of their slaves, and you'll be a happy slave. You just don't own anything. You won't have all those responsibilities that they all have to take. There's nothing new under the sun. We're doing the same model they've done over and over. They're trying to prevent the idea of individual liberty, individual sovereignty, rules over a king. A king doesn't. There's only one king we will submit to, and that is Jesus Christ when he returns. Yeah. And we submit now, but there is no man we're going to bend a knee to that's on this planet right now that's going to tell me that our rights are going to be violated and removed. So I think this is where it all comes to. The black hat, white hat is the old guard versus the independence people. And Trump and the Elon Musks of the world, they see that. They could see what was happening. They could do that. They could fight it. And MAGA was fighting to retain control of their country that was quickly being evaporated by European interests. And what's the model? China. China is a world power, but China is only a world power because those guys allowed it to happen. China was easily manipulated, controlled because they're a one-party state system. So Russia was the rogue nation that has stood up because, yeah, they were communists. We hate communists too because they take our rights. But the point was they are the ones that stood into the face of European domination and fought them at a great loss in World War II. Huge loss. But let's put it, I always point this out. Stalin, Uncle Joe, and Hitler were buddies before they went to war with each other. They both invaded Poland. It wasn't Hitler invaded Poland by himself. It was both of them. They came on all sides and just took out Poland by them in overwhelming numbers.
Well, Russia went in because it saw the opportunity, back at that time, said, well, if you're going to go in there, we might as well get our...
And Russia and say Stalin and Hitler had a pact, a non-aggression pact, and they wouldn't fight each other. And then, of course, we know Barbarossa broke that deal. But in this kind of situation, that's what we're under in this world. And if we look at you got to look at it in biblical terms. It's the only way you can see it. And, we live in principalities that have power. Yeah. And I believe there's incredible spiritual influence that is happening as all part of this. And people talk about these occultic kind of movements and from the elites and all that. Of course it's there.
Yeah, you and I agree like that. Of course, we sound like crazy people too, because we're talking the unseen, right? And there's no way we can evidentiary provide any basis for that within a secular framework. However, that's I believe it notwithstanding. So there you go. I'm in agreement. Here's the other one. We forgot to cover this one earlier, but I think it's worth covering.
Oh, but we should finish on Zelenskyy though, really quick.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
So Zelenskyy will run like all the despots always run. They'll get protection from the people that funded them. But the point is, we were talking about it earlier. The banking system is going to be under scrutiny because a lot of those funds were being moved through Estonian banks to all of those entities we just discussed in those tweets. All those people, from politicians, European politicians, some companies that were connected to it, and those entities that have made billions and billions of dollars bilking money out of the West and the Western taxpayers to fund a war that was just really a cash grab and an attempt to maintain that while they tried to slowly break apart Russia's economic machine by grinding them in a war they could never win. But Russia has been very reserved in all this. They could have gone all in and said, screw it, we're hitting you with ballistic missiles, and they never destroyed Kiev. Right? They could have bombed it till there's nothing left. Correct. And they didn't. And through drones.
Surprised me. At the beginning of the war, I had a argument with liberal-minded people, and I go, this thing's going to be over in 3 days. Now here we are 4 years later. But I never anticipated Russia to do a war of attrition, grinding them down. And believe you me, they are grinding them down. The Ukrainians are on their back heels on this thing. Russia is just gaining more and more territory daily. It is crazy out there. Okay, Blake, I want to cover this story as well because I think it's worth covering. We got Tommy Robinson with his opinion on it. Great comments on that last section, by the way, Blake. I loved it. Here we go. Tommy Robinson, this is one of the many reasons we love President Trump. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is calling on diplomats in Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand to demand their host countries restrict most immigration and file reports if the government is overly supportive of immigrants, and file reports if those governments are overly supportive of immigrants. Blake, did the Canadian government just shit itself?
Yep.
Tell me about that. What do you mean America's wanting reporting on what's going on in sovereign nation of Canada, the sovereign nation of Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, and its various constituent components of Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and old Blighty herself?
Yep. Well, I think it's the classic Five Eyes. We are supposed to trust each other. And now that you've been influenced and overrun by interests, and as I say, political interest, foreign influence is running rampant. And I'm not talking foreign influence like we talked about earlier in the show about APAC or any, Qatar or any countries like that. No, this is more brutal than that. This is actually people working as operatives for foreign countries inside your country as elected representatives. And that is what's happened in Canada. We have still yet to hear the 11 MPs that have been proven to be full-on influence peddlers that were controlled by the Chinese communists,
Correct.
which is really a proxy for the WF. But that's why it's been covered up. But I think that's why he's saying you guys have been overrun. You've allowed yourself to be overrun. This is not and it's not being done out of a sense of malpractice. This is a situation where this has been done intentionally. And that's when you start losing your ability to govern yourself to the protection of your own people, that you're working for foreign assets as a foreign asset government. That's the danger. And that you can understand the United States saying, well, I don't think it's not against immigrants. They're against the out of control, overwhelmingly controlling of your population, a significant change, which can become literally a national security threat to the United States. Because let's put it this way, United States looks at those countries he's specifically targeting. Canada, not as much, but we're on the border. That's the danger of Canada. We're on their border. But those other countries have nukes. And nukes, when you're a nuclear power, you're going to have the eyes of the U.S. on you at all times, because you could do serious damage. So if you get the wrong people in control of England, the wrong people in control of France, the wrong people in control of countries that are supposed to be your allies, and they flip the script, now you have nukes pointed at you. And maybe that nuke gets smuggled out the door with some radical that goes up and hits one of your targets. So they have a right to say, what the hell are you doing to your countries for national?
What happen? Okay, because your time's short now. We only got a few more minutes. So I want to ask you this. So why is America doing this? What are the practical implications of what they're doing? And does it, and my little Canadian heart jumping for joy, is this the beginning of our liberation by President Trump's administration to free us up from the yoke of these globalist sons of bitches that have destroyed our nation and turned it into something unrecognizable?
Well, and going back to the earlier point, the globalist, this massive European cult that's been around for a long time, are desperate to break down the idea of revolutionary freedom, and America is still that, as Reagan called, the shining city on the hill, and that shining city on the hill was where anybody can be free, anybody can have a dream to have their own home, build a life they want to buy for them and their families. And all these countries are trying to reverse all that work of developing the free West. And the whole entire free West is in trouble. And that's what they're seeing. And I think Canada might finally, because we're the first. I think we'll be the first because we are on their border. And we're a danger. That's the problem.
We're big trouble.
So if you can't control, we've got narco states who are involved in Russia, or Russians, Ukrainian corrupt gangs, Indian gangs. I'm talking about India as Indians. I'm talking about CCP. The communists in China are all heavily operating in Canada, using it as staging grounds to smuggle mass amounts of drugs and other criminal activities, real estate crime, using the money laundering through real estate, through our casinos, all kinds of stuff. There's just endless. If you ever watched Sam Cooper, everyone should follow him because he exposes this stuff all the time. It's lucky he's got a target on the back of his head. I wouldn't be surprised somebody's going to try and get rid of him one of these days.
Blackouts take him out.
Yeah, but the fact is that's what's happening. And I think America's saying, for us to survive in the world, we need to reinvigorate the world to want to be free. Mm-hmm. And not go under all of these totalitarian and extreme authoritarian regimes.
Some really great developments here. In my mind, Zelenskyy being revealed, the corruption, because that's going to reflect on the Canadian government and all these European governments and the U.S. Senate that went and fed guys money and kickbacks.
Well, you know what's going to happen then? There's going to be a lot of Epstein prison oh, he killed himself kind of
Yeah,
situations
we
coming
got
out
that.
of Ukraine. All these levels of people that could be whistleblowers are going to be accidentally killed or murdered by quote unquote Russian agents and after the fact.
I tell you, man, there's so much happening. Here's some good news. Letitia James had her corrupt charges against Trump dropped. She was the one, I believe it's his mugshot was for her charges.
Yep.
The famous mugshot that went viral was through Letitia James. That case, she got into trouble, conflict of interest with it because it was dirty from the beginning. The head of the legal, the bar, whoever it was, the head honcho,
the judge
took it over because nobody else took it over, like to do the prosecution. The head DA, kind of the whole Georgia state, took it over because nobody would touch it. He went and looked at it, went into it, and he goes, I can't proceed with this thing. The reason he can't, I think, because it's so corrupt that it would have been revealed as such, and then it would have left him himself open, or any other DA open to corruption charges of malicious prosecution against an innocent victim. And that victim, in this case, Donald John Trump, it's the last of the civil lawsuits against him. There's one other one going, that the hush money case, that's under appeal by Trump. He will win that as well. There's your prediction from Rachel's Ghost here on the program. 3 quick bang stories to come right on the heel. We'll end on a very positive note today, folks. Just in a blow to the, quote, experts, President Trump's tariffs brought in a record $33 billion in the month of October alone. And leftists are trying to zero that out, of course. Keep the money flowing. And I'll just play it really quick. I won't even enlarge it. Here we go.
President Trump says that he relied on his tariff policies to make all of this happen. In October, tariffs brought in $33 billion. That's a 316% increase from October of 2024. Now, President Trump says that he relied on his tariff policies.
All right. So 33 billion. Then we got this. This is related to it. We'll share this. Rapid fire. Breaking: President Trump confirms he might totally eliminate federal income tax. This would be huge. You think? Within the next couple of years, we'll substantially be cutting out completely income tax. Could be almost completely cutting it because of the tariffs. Let's go hear the president talk. I'll make him big for this because it's just amazing. I mean, can you imagine? My God.
For the next couple of years, I think we'll substantially be cutting, and maybe cutting out completely, but we'll be cutting income tax. Could be almost completely cutting it because the money we're taking in is going to be so large. And yet, other countries who have been ripping us off for many, many years, and many years they've just been ripping us to shreds. For the next couple of years.
All right, and then we got one more for you. Let me, if I can find it. Boom, 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 boom. Holy smokes, where did that one go? That was such a good one. Okay, I don't have it, but what it was somebody in, I want to say, Oklahoma spotted gas going for $2.
A gallon?
A gallon, yeah. In Oklahoma. Can you imagine? I mean, that's Trump bringing the prices down like he said he would. People were showing pictures of their Thanksgiving turkeys as well. There was one turkey, a full turkey, for $16. Are you kidding me? That's unheard of. So
except for Canada, we're still paying $200 for.
Well, we're idiots. I mean,
Yeah.
we're captive. We're a captive population right now. We got problems. But anyway, the president is promises made, promises kept. He has my full support here in Canada. We await our liberation. I'm seeing a lot of positives. Letitia James, that's a huge thing to see that case against Trump drop.
Well, did you see why that got dropped?
For a number of reasons. Go ahead.
One of the ones they were trying to state was that the appointments that Trump made were illegal. They weren't. So they were just saying that prosecutor could not represent because the judge said, well, you were illegally, in our books, weren't representing justice properly. And so they made Anyway, this is the holdovers, the deep state with their pieces in place to try and stall out. They know they're going to get defeated down the road, but they're just slowing the progress.
They constantly do this, but this is a big one with Letitia James getting that whole thing tossed out. What's the other one? We got a little interference running from a judge. Oh yeah, she let Comey off and Fannie Willis. I think those two got off.
Same rationale. Right.
Yeah. And say that. So it's a technicality that
Trump's appointments aren't good. Yeah.
We're still hunting them down. We'll take them out. Blake, we love you. We're going to see you on Tuesday. We'll be back. Everybody have a great weekend. I hope your Thanksgiving was great. And give us a thumbs up, like the video, share the video on YouTube. Or not YouTube. Well, you can share it, but share it on the, what do you call it, Blake, on the X program.
X. Yep, to share away.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That'll do it for Blake and myself today.